Good evening, threadheads. I hope you're all well. In this very exciting instalment, we have one of the flies that has been particularly destructive for me over the last couple of years, to be honest. It's not complicated to tie. It probably isn't even an original pattern, and it is my version of a hot head damsel fly nymph. The fly itself is, it does what it says on the tin. It is the nymph of the damselfly over here in the UK. Over in the US and Canada, it's probably some way to being a bugger without the hackle. But over here, it fishes really well all year round. It's a good searching pattern for me in the margins or down deep. It is my go-to pattern if things get a bit tough. It's just something I've got confidence in. It's got some flash in it to catch the trout's attention. It's got a marabou tail, so it's got lots of movement. So let's get on and tie it. What you will need is the Togens hooks short shank salmon in size 10. On the end of that, I have a 3.2mm brass bead in hot orange. The tail is olive marabou. The rib is orange hollow tinsel. The flash in the tail, more orange crystal flash. And the body is Vicuna dubbing medium olive. You can choose various different shades of olive, or olive hare's ear sub, or really anything you want to match the hatch to an extent. Whilst this is a lure type pattern with a marabou tail, you can go different shades just to sort of match what's in the water where you're fishing. And the thread, olive, this is a Vivus, but it doesn't really make too much difference. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to catch the thread on at the eye of the hook, lay down a bed of thread, try and make it as neat as possible, but it doesn't matter too much because we're going to double the body. And then, unlike some people, I go back up to the head, snap off the waist, and I like to tie my marabou in at the eye of the hook. So, I've got a bunch of marabou here. It's a bit unruly, so I'm going to lick my fingers and make it behave itself slightly, and then I'm going to snip the tips off. And what I then do is I'll just strip the fuzz away from the base of those feathers a little bit, just to reduce the bulk of the body, and then we are going to pinch and loop right up behind the bead. And what this does is it ensures the marabou is tied on nice and tightly, but it also means it won't roll around the hook because I'm holding it like this, and you can guarantee it's going to stay on top of the hook shank, especially if you do what I'm doing here and just lift it up slightly. Unlike your tag end thread, the thread doesn't really slip down the marabou to butt up to the last thread wrap, but it does stay nice and central on the hook shank. And when you get to where the bend starts, or just after, I like to do 2 or 3 wraps underneath the tail, just like this. And what it does, in my experience, it stops or reduces the risk, shall we say, of that tail wrapping around the bend of the hook whilst you're casting or whilst you're fishing. Once you've done that, I like to just come in and pinch off the tail at the length I want. And for these flies in particular, I like a lot of movement, so I like a good long tail. There we go, nice and thick. Nothing spindly about this. This is designed to attract attention. What we're going to do now, we are going to tie in the orange crystal flash. Now, I like to get the most out of my materials, so 1 strand of crystal flash is going to do both sides. I like to offer it up at one side, make the crystal flash slightly longer than the tail, so that when the tail's wet and it's stretched, and you don't really want that to happen. Happens to the best of us, obviously. And always when we're on video. So if you'll just bear with me, I will rethread the bobbin holder off camera, obviously. and try that again. And hopefully, whilst I'm doing this, the fly won't unravel. If it does, please shout. There we go. Right. Let's go again. And I'm not starting again because I think it's kind of cool for people to see that even people who record videos snap their thread. I don't know why I snapped that thread. I wasn't pulling particularly hard. But then again, I am built a bit like He-Man. I am stronger than the Rock. So it could just have been that I gave it a little bit too much. So I'll offer that up again. Just a loose collecting wrap to position it how I like it. You can see I've doubled the crystal flash over, so it's you want the strands in a slight V. You can see I've tied it down my side. We're then going to bring that over the top. Again, one wrap just to secure it, and then you've got a rotary vise. Use the rotary function just so you can see where you're tying in and get it in exactly the position you want. Whilst you've been doing that, you've probably just with the thread wraps, the motion of the thread wraps, brought the other side up over the top maybe. So just check the crystal flash on the side closest to you is sitting where you want it, and then snip that side, position the strands how you like it, and we're good to go. Right, next up, ribbing. As I said, it's orange holographic. Nothing too complicated about tying this in. And again, it doesn't matter if you tie it in quite close to the base of the fly because we're dubbing the body, so you don't need that nice, smooth, even body. Because we're going for the rough look on this one. And then just clip that hollow tinsel into materials clip. Let the bobbin hang. When I'm using beads on different flies, different nymphs, smaller flies, I like to lay a bed of thread underneath the bead to start with so that it stops wobbling around, it secures the bead nicely, it balances it out. I don't do that on this fly, and the reason is I'm going to take some dubbing for the body, but I'm actually going to jam that dubbing right up behind the bead, and that will secure it instead. So we're going to tease out some of this Vicuna medium olive. It's nice and easy to dub, it's really soft. And get that onto the thread. And again, it's your fly, as I've said in all of my videos, it's your fly, so shape the body as you want it. If you want it tapered, taper it. If you don't. If you want it fat, make it fat. If you want it thin, make it thin. Just for these ones at the base of the thread, be sure to hold all the materials so they don't spin around the hook. And then come up and start dubbing the body. If you can, try and make sure there are no lumps and bumps in the dubbing. Make sure it's fairly even. Hollow tinsel is slippy, and I can guarantee if there's a bump in there or a lump, it will find it. And that will mean that your rib is not evenly spaced. And whilst the fish probably don't give two hoots about that, it really offends me. It really bothers me. So I'm going to keep going up. Don't like that one. If you don't like it, go back, tighten your dubbing up again. Right, you can see I've reached the bead here. I'm not leaving room to tie anything in. I'm going right up behind that bead. One more turn. Oh, do you think we can get one more in there? Oh, yes we can. Right, I'm going to pull the excess off. That's nice and tight in there, that's good. Okay, now it's just a question of ribbing the fly really. You can rib the fry as well if you want. 2 or 3 turns maximum, one at the base. There we go. If you've got your rotary function again, just rotate the fly so you can see that the ribs are evenly spaced. I'm going to go up there like that, nice. And then I like to do just a couple behind the bead. Again, it aids in stabilising that bead, and it also fills in a bit of the space. 3 turns in front, 3 turns behind, 3 turns behind again, just to make sure it's slippery, so it might come out. So more is better, more thread wraps. And that's almost finished. I don't like how that little bit sits just behind the bead, so I'm going to put a tiny bit more dubbing on. A nice thin dubbing noodle here. Honestly, I am, I promise. There we go, right. And then we're just going to use the dubbing to cover up our sins. Nice and tight. Just jam it out behind it and just cover the tag end of that hollow tinsel. And then it's whip finish, and that's it. 2, 3. You can put varnish on if you want. I've never had one come undone on me with just two lots of whip finishes. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and that wonderful piece of thread snaps again. And that's it. My hot head damsel nymph, jerky retrieve, figure of 8, stripped, static. It works. The fish love it. What I found is it's better off fished deep, and what I've found certainly in the last 12 months is that the fish will follow it in and take it right at the end of the retrieve. So always fish your fly right to the end and do not yank it out when you finish. Just dibble it, wiggle your rod tip, fish the hang, because it will induce takes. I hope that's been informative for you. You can mix it up with the colours if you want, different coloured ribbon bead, different colour flash in the tail. Vicuna have a range of different colours dubbing that you can mix and match for what is swimming around in your lakes. Search me out on Instagram and let me know how you get on with it. Thanks very much. I'll see you again.